At the request of my chat, I'm actually making this video now, and I'm going to teach the very basics of Doomfist. So the different types of punches, diags, bounces, balancing, just to help some of you improve your Doomfist gameplay just a little bit. It's nothing too advanced. I'm not showing like rollouts or anything like that. Just the basics of Doomfist. So the first thing I want to start off with is your punch. Your punch is your main mobility. It's one of the best things that you have for movement. Just don't be too all over the place with it, because it's also a big part of your damage. So we're going to start off with a normal punch, and we're going to do it from this little step, like right here, and we're just going to let it go without doing anything, right? So we land about here. So if I go back till about the same spot, and I show you the rocket punch. Before your punch animation ends while you're traveling, if you hit, space or jump again, you will go farther. So I go about here instead of back there. Now, there's another mechanic called Bunnyhopping, which gives you a little bit of extra distance. Now, I can't do it here because I kind of already went the whole way. All right, so I guess I'll just do it from the spray. That's the best way I can do it. I'll do it from the spray. And that's a bunny hop. You get that much extra distance, essentially, from back there. Covering a turn punch. Turn punching is wherever in the punch animation you look left or right, just like this. Now, what you can do with this is the same thing I told you before. Anywhere in the punch you hit jump, it will cancel your punch, but you will travel the direction that you were looking, just like that. This is good for bounding around corners, just like this. It's good for making quick adjustments to your movement, and it's also good to throw people off when you're engaging an enemy, especially a squishy, or if you're flanking or anything like that. I'm going to cover diags, or diagonal punching. Diags can happen off of not everything in the game. It's kind of like a niche thing, but it's pretty much any object that's like chest high with your model you could pull a diag off of. Like even here as an example, this one's kind of tricky to get for some reason. I don't know why, but you could do that. The famous Anubis punch you can do is basically just a diag traveling up walls just like that.
We're just gonna wall up. You're down one. That's why we have victory right click.
You can use these pillars. All four of these pillars are the exact same thing. You can use a diag off these, or you can get a normal bounce if you want to, but I prefer to do this because I can dive widows or Pharaohs or anything like that. Now I'm going to cover your basic bounce. Bounces are really good. It's another form of your mobility. Gives you verticality with your punch, right? So if you charge up a punch, if you hit space just before you hit an object, you will get a bounce. Now there's a little cheat to this. If there's an object about this high, as an example, if you hold space at about here, you'll get a bounce for free, but it's not like a super bounce. It depends on how close you are to the object as well. So just like that, just by holding space. But you got to make sure you have the right distance gauged. So I'll do it again. Just like that. And that was just by holding space, nothing else. I didn't like time it or anything. I just held down space. If you're farther than that, you're still going to have to do the timing. So you're going to have to hit space before you hit the object, and you'll get a bounce. Much like this. And it's good for diving, high ground, or getting a hold of high ground, sorry, or diving like the pesky widow that sits up here, right? You could also do, there's not really like a name for this, but like if you uppercut, you can get like a boost of momentum forward. It's not too good other than like getting out of spawns or certain doors to contest or get back to the objective faster. Another thing with your uppercut is if you're indoors, like if you're in a room like this, never E and then uppercut. You want to uppercut then E because you'll get a lot more damage out of your slam. The next thing I'll be showing in this part of the video is downward punching. I don't even know if there's really a name for that. This also goes with the Anubis punch I showed earlier. You could do the same thing on, like I said, just about any slanted like wall or like surface. You could do this on Dorado. On second point, there is a van. I will showcase that here in a second. But you can also do it here on Hanamura. If you look up just about here, you will land a punch every single time to the high ground, just like that. So you could take out, you could come from the flank on that side of the map, right? And you can come up behind their team here while your team's pushing top right. Downward punching, I'll show in just a second, is where you hit space as you're going to release your punch, and you can hit your head on this door and it'll make you travel down. I don't really practice these too much. I just know that it exists and I don't find too many uses for it. But just like that. Next map I'm going to show is the punch on Dorado, because that map will probably be more than likely in rotation next season, so it's probably good to like showcase that as well. And then I'll show King's Row. I'll show the King's Row punch as well, because they do have their uses. So like I said, second point here, this little minivan right here, you look up, then release, you'll fly upwards just like this. It's pretty good. The next thing I'm going to cover is balancing, because ironic that we're on this map, because I had to showcase that punch. Balancing is really good for most maps, because just about every map has some sort of spot for Doomfist that's really good for balancing, like on Eichenwald, up here as well. You can come up here, and you could sit on this rooftop. There's other spots that I would show, but I mean, it would take up too much time. So I'm going to show another good example real quick that is good for balancing, because you have to work against momentum. So this spot over here, you want to work against the momentum where it's pushing you, just like that. This is what's known as balancing. And if you go too much to the other side, you want to start S-keying back the other way. Basically, you work against the momentum of wherever it's pushing you off of. I'm going to showcase the King's Row punch now real quick. So I use this rollout. I will actually show a clip of it now.
I'm about to go in your planes, are you, right? Everyone, you're able to fucking... Somebody see you, homie. Be careful.
I am aware.
Pop it off, dude! Here's rollout, go in!
I'm only showing like key rollouts because they have something to do with your punch as a mechanic. So I'm not going to show all of them, like I said. But this bus here, you can get a punch off this bus, and you can fly to that back high ground over there, or this high ground right there, or you can come into their team right here at the point. So it's all positioning. It's very, very weird. But just like that. That's that one. Just like that. Also, for whatever reason, the slam on King's Row shouldn't really be a thing, but it is, because there are gaps between the platforms that you're standing on where the payload travels and the rooms that you can walk into. You can see these little gaps if you actually go into King's Row and look yourself. But if you're jumping while standing on top of these cracks where it looks like you can see down directly into the map, you can get an indicator slam, which will take you directly to your target. And this is good for also flanking. I just found out about this today. I don't know if anybody else knows about it, but it was on a episode of Fresh Nuts when Chips had landed an accidental indicator slam. So I was like, okay, well, maybe we could use it anywhere else if we can. So, just like that. Yeah, it's pretty strong. But I only made this as the basics. We're not going too in-depth. Like, there's a lot of other stuff that you can learn with Doomfist that are more high-end, and they're more like bugs, really, honestly, and they're kind of hard to pull off. But this is just the basics. Everyone can grasp this. Anybody can do this. You also don't need to use these to be good with Doomfist. It just takes a lot of practice and game sense and knowledge and things like that. It's nothing too in-depth. But if you do play this way, please don't feed. Don't int. You'll get flamed by your team for it. But oftentimes when you do feed, that's kind of how you have to play Doom. His entire kit's revolving around feeding. So, you know, I mean, fuck it, right? So if you do manage to pull this stuff off and you do see an improvement in your playstyle, I'm very happy for you. I'm also happy that the video helped you. There's plenty of other guides as well that are more in-depth than my own. So feel free to check those out. Get Quaked On has a full advanced Doomfist guide. There's quite a few other people as well. Brandito has a little outdated guides, but that's actually what I learned from. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on stream.